throughout my entire life, I've never really read a book on my own time. I mean, of course, just like everyone, I have read books in school. Fahrenheit 451, 1984, Frankenstein. Probably, if, at least if you're in the American school system, we've probably read the same books. However, I didn't really read the whole thing. Sometimes I looked up cliff notes, and it's different when you're reading it for a test or quiz. And I'm going to bring up another example of when I was learning Spanish because right now I don't remember much from Spanish class. The reason for that is because I was learning Spanish for a quiz. I wasn't learning it to speak. So it's two different things. It's different when you genuinely want to do something on your own time. You tend to retain it more. I think that's how I viewed reading. And I actually picked up Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. And this is a book I've wanted to read for a while. Now, let me say this. It's not like I don't read. I read all the time on the internet. I've read bits and pieces of books before. I remember Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. It was more of a script than a book like this, a standard book. I read that, but I don't really count that as a book, and I don't think I read the full thing. I've started books. I've always had an interest that I want to start reading books, but I never have. So here we are. I went to Barnes& and Nobles, and I got Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. And this is something I've always really wanted to read. And I'm sure you guys, if you want to pause and read the back. But it's a super interesting story. I haven't read it yet, and I purposely didn't look up summaries of it because I don't want to know what it's about. If you're out there, you can look up a summary online. But it's set in the 1850s in the American West. And it's a very violent book. They have a super interesting character called Judge Holden, who looks like this. I've always been super intrigued. He's this very pale, big, hairless person who is a definition of evil. People always consider him to be one of the most evil people in fiction. I mean, he's a murderer. He's involved in scalping people. He's there. So many things I won't even say on YouTube. Blood Meridian. Always wanted to read books. I think the reason why I haven't is because I've either been distracted by school, video games, movies are medias that I really like. I love video games, love movies. I love the storytelling in them. And I think I also, in the back of my mind, I hated school. I graduated college in the spring of this year. I am so happy to be done. You guys have no idea. And I've been working my own tech company that I started a few months ago, and that's a whole nother thing. Maybe I'll talk about at some point. Have my diploma. It's in the past. I think one of the big reasons is I used to attribute reading to school. So, I always really wasn't a big fan of English class. I'm actually good at creative writing. I want to write a book someday. I actually have ideas for it because I love storytelling. I would, love them to be movies. That's obviously like very wishful thinking, but if you're going to ask me, yes, I would love to write a book. There's stories I want to tell, and I have like all these ideas, characters in my head for it. I love stories. I appreciate books. But one thing I think I caught myself thinking subconsciously is I would attribute to reading books to school, to sitting in class, forced to read a certain amount of chapters, taking a quiz on it, talking about it. And I hated that, so I never really want to go to a bookstore and read because to me, it was weird. I wanted to read, but then I associate it with school. And now that I've been out of school, I've been doing my own thing. I've kind of looked at it a different way, a new perspective of just pure storytelling, one that I can envision the execution of the story. So I don't have to worry about if movies can have great stories, but they can be executed poorly. That's poor actors, poor cinematography, lazy AI slop, AI work, bad CGI. It can ruin stories, bad pacing, cutting out things, swapping characters, that kind of thing. With books, it's all up to me with the execution. I mean, I could read the book fast and miss details, and that's poor execution on my part. Or I could take my time reading it. I could imagine everything. And to me, I can give it the perfect execution, at least the way I see it. Now, everyone's going to see books relatively the same way. But still, if I'm reading about a scene that takes place in a desert town, he can describe it as a rundown desert town in the 1850s, but you have a room full of people. How many people could fit in this room? 40, 30, maybe 30 people. You pack people in. every single person would have at least some major or slightly major details different when they imagine books. I think that's the beauty of it, is you can create the world in your mind. You can see it the way that suits you. However, you're all reading the same story and you all come to the same conclusion. I think that's really appealing about books. And I think it was that kind of thought process that was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should read books. And I'm going to add to my point, when movies are made, some of them that, are obviously made after books. Some of them are just movies. Some of them are made after, there's been some made after video games, right? No matter where they came from, everyone seems to always agree the movies that came from books, the books are always better. There's always things, there's context, there's different scenes that are cut out of the movie, and it makes the story more full. And I think books is probably the ultimate way of storytelling, because the story is here, but you are in control of bridging the ideas together and creating that world, and your mind will fill in the blank. So there's no nothing will ever look wrong or be unsatisfying to the eyes or look cheap and lazy. You could look at a bad CGI movie, like maybe some recent Marvel movies that have had just a ridiculous amount of CGI. That doesn't happen in your mind when you're reading. I think that's appeal. That's the appeal to it, is you can almost experience the perfect story through a book. And it was that kind of thought process that made me want to check out a book. I've also heard a lot about this. I actually watched a video essay on Judge Holden, the judge, and it was super interesting. I always have this intrigue of super evil characters. I think for any story, the villain is always the most important part, because without it, I always think the movie feels empty. You can have a great hero. Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. That is lightning in a bottle with the actor Johnny Depp, the way the character is written, the atmosphere, everything about Jack Sparrow is perfect. He's one of the most memorable characters, and he makes that franchise. However, Jack Sparrow is almost nothing without a good villain. Hector Barbossa was a perfect counter to him. He sort of countered his drunk, jokey, unserious, humor and his lack of intellect. Even though Jack Sparrow is deep down, he's actually pretty smart. I think Batman, the Joker, perfect together. Batman's nothing without the Joker. Actually, the Joker in The Dark Knight said something along like, we're made for each other. So I always think that was very interesting about this story. From my perspective growing up, I think a lot of people my age thought this, at least when you were young. And I'm talking like 8, 10, 12, 14. Some people like to read, but I think with my generation, I grew up with all this technology. The GameCube was popular when I was super young. The Game Boy, 3DS, Wii U, all those consoles when I was younger. And I think I grew up in this technological age where people thought reading was for old people and it was boring, and it's something that schools forced you to do. So when you got home from school, it's like, throw away the books. I don't want to see any of them. I want to play games. I want to watch movies. I want to, use all this technology. Why would I read books when I could enjoy watching a movie that someone spent millions to put together, or play a video game that's going to take me 60 hours and I can control it in the game? And it's not until later in life where I grew this appreciation for books of the freedom of the story you can create in your mind, or the freedom of interpretation. Because, you go through books and now, a picture speaks 1,000 words, so you can watch a movie and visually it can also tell a story. You don't have to be speaking. In books, you could have an entire page describing something in 10 different ways using a bunch of words that you've never even heard of in the English dictionary. There's so many ways that you can explain the smallest details. You can explain someone's emotion, the complexity of the way a character experiences or interprets something, or the way this character is affected by something. You can explain that in so many different ways that a movie can never. You can show it. It will be awkward if, you watch a movie and you see a character crying. They don't cry and say, oh, I'm crying, oh, I'm crying. They don't say that. You see them cry. In a book, you could describe them as crying. You could describe the amount of tears that come down from their eyes. Like, are they crying a little bit, a lot? Are their eyes very red? You could see that in movies, but in the book, you could also describe all of that. You could describe the other emotions they're feeling inside of them. You could describe I don't know. It could, in the book, remind them of something. They could be sad about something that happened. They could be reminiscing on something from the past. You could describe that all in the book with complete context. Can't do that in a movie or a video game. The opportunity of deep storytelling and details in books is unmatched. I think that's amazing, and I'm excited to read a book. And I hope this maybe inspires me to actually start on my own because I have stories I want to tell. But anyway, this was a short video. This is different from the stuff I normally do, which I'm aware of that. But I thought this would be a cool video to make, maybe for any of you guys who are readers out there who love to read. It might be interesting to see how someone my age looks at books. For this being my first book, that's how I look at it. And I'll make another video when I'm done with the book. Maybe do a little review on it. But I just want to share that with you guys. Just take a little break from my normal videos. And let me know what books you guys like. Or if you've read Blood Meridian, let me know what you think about it. I'd love to hear. Anyways, guys, Evan7. See you guys next time.